I gotta say, this MrBeast video description you sent me about his Great Pyramid trip. I mean, wow, hooked me right from the start.
Yeah, seems to have gotten quite a bit of attention. Anything in particular that grabbed you?
Well, honestly, it's the stuff like beyond the usual pyramid stuff, like we've all seen the King's Chamber and all that. But he's going into areas that are rarely open.
Mm.
Even researchers don't get to go there a lot of the
Mm.
time. He's talking about like untranslated hieroglyphs, hidden tombs. I mean, it's like, real life Indiana Jones stuff.
Yeah, that sense of the unknown is
Yeah.
definitely a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And the description even mentions how the team felt this kind of like oppressive silence, you know,
Mhm.
thick with centuries of dust,
Oh yeah.
almost like the pyramid itself is hesitant to reveal his secrets.
Okay, yeah, that part gave me chills. But then they find the sealed doorway.
Deep inside. And the guide, he's been fine up until this point. He suddenly freaks out,
Mhm.
like refuses to go further, talking about, forbidden and all that. What do you make of that?
Well, it's tempting to jump straight to the supernatural, right? I mean, especially in a place as steeped in myth as the pyramids.
Right.
But remember, the description also does mention the guide talking about collapses and unstable tunnels in that area. So there could be practical concerns at play too.
True, yeah. But still, it's like suspicious timing, wouldn't you say? Like, why didn't he mention those dangers before?
Right.
What could be so risky that even like Mr. Beast's money and influence can't get around it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like a lock has been placed on this part of the pyramid, and we're just left to guess at the key.
Yeah.
But, there's another discovery in the description that I find even more intriguing, honestly.
You mean the empty sarcophagi?
Yeah, that threw me for a loop too. I mean, if those hidden chambers weren't tombs, then what were they for? Like ritual spaces or some kind of, I don't know, ancient storage?
Well, the description actually cites a researcher,
Yeah.
Dr. Nadia El-Mazri. She specializes in Old Kingdom burial practices.
Okay.
And her theory, and this is based on similar empty sarcophagi found elsewhere, is that they were symbolic, meant to house the ka, or spirit,
Mm-hmm.
of someone who couldn't be physically buried
So
there.
like a spiritual backup plan
Yeah, pretty much.
in case the actual tomb was compromised.
Yeah.
Clever, but kind of morbid too.
Yeah,
But wait, wouldn't the hieroglyphs give us more clues about the purpose?
you'd think so, right?
Eh.
And that's where it gets even more interesting. The description mentions that some of the symbols don't match any known hieroglyphs. They're
Oh.
calling them, quote, anomalous, unquote. And they've even brought in a specialist, a Dr. James Allen, to try to decipher them.
Ooh, okay, now this is getting good. We're talking potentially new information about ancient Egyptian language and culture. But before we go full, conspiracy theory here, does the description say anything about what these strange symbols actually look like?
It does, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Apparently, some resemble geometric patterns,
Yeah.
shapes and such, while others are being described as biomorphic, almost like simplified depictions of living things.
Biomorphic, like plants and animals, or are we talking something, weirder? I've always been fascinated by that whole ancient astronaut theory.
Mhm.
Is Mr. Beast about to blow the lid off that one too?
Hold on now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay,
The description is careful to say that the symbols are highly stylized.
right.
So it could be anything from previously undocumented animal deities to entirely new grammatical structures that we haven't encountered before. We need more than a few odd carvings to jump to extraterrestrials.
Fair enough, fair enough. But those empty sarcophagi, the guide's reaction, I don't know, something just feels off about this whole thing. It's like we're missing a piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And that, I suspect, is exactly what Mr. Beast is hoping to capitalize on.
Yeah,
He's a master of suspense, after all.
that's true.
But there's one final detail in the description that really got me thinking.
Do tell, is it about those tunnels they found? The ones that supposedly lead to nowhere?
Yes, but not just that they exist. The description specifically mentions a type of limestone not found naturally in the Giza Plateau, used in their construction.
Okay.
It seems that Mr. Beast's team did some preliminary analysis,
Mm-hmm.
and they believe it might have been quarried from a site hundreds of miles south.
Wait, so they brought in this specific kind of limestone for tunnels that lead nowhere? What's the point of that? Unless those tunnels weren't always dead ends, what if they connected to something else, something that's no longer there?
Now, that's a fascinating thought. And, the description does mention a local legend about an underground complex beneath the Giza Plateau,
Okay.
a city of the gods hidden from human eyes.
Okay, now we're getting into some serious Indiana Jones territory here. Lost cities, secret chambers, maybe even a treasure room at the end of it all. I'm hooked.
As you should be. But before we get too swept away by the intrigue here,
Right.
remember what we said at the start. This is a video description. It's crafted to generate buzz. We need to separate the showmanship from the actual evidence. And that's where our deep dive truly begins.
It is. It is. We need to think critically here. Let's not forget, MrBeast's bread and butter is entertainment.
Yeah.
So this description could be, playing up the mystery angle a little
Oh,
bit.
for sure. The guy knows how to get those clicks and views, right?
Right.
But even if we dial back the hype a little bit, there are still some pretty curious details in here. I agree, yeah. And I think the key to understanding all of this is to move beyond the, popular aliens built the pyramids trope,
Right.
and instead focus on what the description tells us about, the Egyptians themselves.
Okay, I'm listening. Where do we start with that?
Well, take that unusual limestone you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
If they were willing to transport such heavy material from hundreds of miles away, it suggests, these tunnels weren't just some afterthought. They had a specific purpose, even if we don't understand it yet.
So maybe those dead-end tunnels weren't always dead ends. Like, what if they connected to something else, something that's no longer there? Like, I don't know, an underground structure or something.
There you go. You're thinking like an archaeologist now.
All right.
And what's interesting is that the description references a study by a Dr. Zahi Hawass.
Okay.
He's a prominent Egyptologist. And he theorized about the existence of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx.
Hold on. Haven't they already scanned the Sphinx like a bunch of times? I thought they didn't find anything.
They did find anomalies, like voids beneath the surface.
Okay.
But the technology at the time wasn't really advanced enough to explore them thoroughly.
Right.
So Hawass believed these voids could be connected to a network of tunnels, possibly extending to the pyramids themselves.
So MrBeast might have stumbled onto like a piece of this network, potentially even an entrance. Man, I'm getting chills again.
It's certainly a possibility,
Yeah.
and if we combine that with the whole empty sarcophagi thing,
Right.
we start to see a pattern emerging here. What if these weren't just burial structures? What if the entire Giza Plateau was designed as this kind of multi-layered complex,
Yeah.
both above and below ground?
Whoa, okay. That's a whole other level of thinking about the pyramids. But wouldn't there be some kind of historical record of this? Like, wouldn't it be mentioned in some ancient texts?
That's the tricky part. We rely so heavily on the written word to understand the past.
Yeah.
But what if certain knowledge was meant to be kept secret? Passed down orally or through symbols that we haven't yet deciphered.
Like those anomalous hieroglyphs they found. Maybe those hold the key to unlocking this whole complex.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, the description emphasized that Dr. Allen, the specialist that was brought in, is known for his work on deciphering early forms of hieroglyphic writing, even those that predate the dynasties that we typically associate with the pyramids.
So we're talking potentially rewriting the timeline of ancient Egyptian civilization. Maybe even discovering, like, I don't know, an earlier, more advanced culture that built these structures.
That's where things get really, really exciting. And, the description does mention that Dr. Allen was particularly struck by the recurring motif of a spiral symbol, something he hasn't encountered before in his research.
A spiral. What could that symbolize? Cycles of life and death, some kind of astronomical phenomena.
Okay, now I need to see what happens next in this video.
Patience, my friend. Remember, we're trying to piece together a puzzle here, not just get caught up in the hype. And there's one crucial element that we haven't addressed yet.
You mean the guide's fear?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't just brush that aside. What if he knows something we don't? Something about that sealed doorway that is genuinely dangerous?
Exactly. The description notes that he used the Arabic word jinn.
Okay.
Which is often translated as like genie or spirit.
Yeah.
When talking about what lies beyond. Now, we could dismiss that as superstition.
Yeah.
But what if there's a kernel of truth to it?
Like what if there's something down there that the ancient Egyptians believed was like a a real threat. Maybe not supernatural, but something they couldn't explain or control. Precisely, yeah. It could be anything from a natural phenomenon that they associated with a malevolent entity to a hidden mechanism designed to protect the deeper parts of the complex.
Okay, that just adds a whole other layer of intrigue here. And the description mentions that the guide's family has been involved with the pyramids for generations. What if this knowledge has been passed down through his lineage, like a warning about the dangers within?
Now you're thinking like a historian. And if that's the case, then Mr. Beast's team might be walking into something far more complex and potentially dangerous than they initially anticipated.
This is incredible. We've gone from hidden chambers and secret tunnels to potentially uncovering a lost civilization, all while navigating like ancient warnings and maybe even a supernatural threat. What's not to love about this?
I love the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away here, let's remember the importance of perspective. We're building a narrative based on a single video description here. We need to be mindful of the source and its inherent biases.
Right, right. Easy to get swept up in all the excitement. So how do we ground ourselves? What's the most important takeaway from all this?
I think the most valuable lesson here is the power of questioning.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with information, especially in the age of viral videos and social media. It's easy to just accept things at face value, to let others shape our understanding of the world. But true knowledge comes from digging deeper, from challenging assumptions, from asking the right questions.
So what you're saying is don't just watch the MrBeast video. Engage with it. Think critically about what's being presented. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of a deep dive like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about finding all the answers. It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging a deeper exploration of the world around us.
It's kind of funny, we started out talking about MrBeast and hidden chambers and all that. Now we're talking about the very nature of knowledge.
Yeah.
And how we go about getting it. Quite a journey.
It really is. It's amazing how these ancient mysteries have this way of drawing us in, forcing us to confront not just the unknown, but our own ways of thinking about things.
It's like those pyramids are a giant mirror, reflecting our own curiosity and our desire to understand the world. But let's be practical for a second here. Say someone listening to this wants to learn more, wants to dig deeper into these discoveries. Where should they start?
Well, first off, I would encourage them to look beyond just the MrBeast spectacle. The description mentioned a few names, Dr. L. Manthry, Dr. Hawass, Dr. Allen. These are real researchers,
right,
with published works.
Right.
Start there, see what they have to say about empty sarcophagi, about hidden chambers, early forms of hieroglyphic writing.
Great point. Academic papers, they can be a little dense sometimes.
Yeah.
But they offer a level of depth and nuance that you just won't find in a viral video.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like going from the trailer to the full-length documentary.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't underestimate the power of museums and online archives. Remember the description mentioned that specific type of limestone?
Yeah.
Well, there are museums dedicated to Egyptian artifacts. They have entire collections of building materials, quarry records, even tools. You can practically trace the journey of that stone from its source to the pyramid.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Right.
It's like those seemingly insignificant details, if you know where to look, can unlock these entire chapters of history.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the power of local knowledge.
Yeah.
That guide's reaction, the mention of jinn, it hints at this whole oral tradition surrounding the pyramids. Stories, warnings, passed down through generations.
So maybe reach out to local guides, historians, folklore experts.
Yeah.
Get their perspective on these discoveries, see how they fit into the larger cultural narrative.
Exactly. Because remember, history isn't just about, facts and figures.
Right.
It's about the people who lived those events, their beliefs, their fears, their understanding of the world.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We started with a MrBeast video description and ended up exploring, everything. from ancient Egyptian burial practices to the very nature of knowledge itself.
And it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Who knows what other secrets those pyramids hold,
Right.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
Or what other mysteries are out there hidden in plain sight, just waiting for a curious mind to stumble upon them.
That's the beauty of it all, isn't it? The world is full of wonder and intrigue
Yeah.
for those who dare to look beyond the surface.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. You never know what you might discover. Until next time.